All right, so we have some more PMs coming up. I wanted to share a quick thing. Danny told me a long time ago when he first came along, he used to talk to me about how we're going to build this performance team, and I really didn't know much about that. But what he told me about his previous life with his previous performance manager at another company, that he knew that when he picked up that call from that performance guy that he was going to get a nugget of information. He wasn't going to get upsold. He trusted that person, and that's what we've done with our performance team. We built people for you that you can trust, that's going to give you really great advice. Take their call. I promise they're probably not going to upsell you anything. They may tell you that we have other things that you haven't purchased yet, and you're welcome to. You don't have to, but they are here to give you what they've been giving you. And I've got some more coming up today. I'm going to go ahead and welcome them to the stage. Chris Arnold is a team lead of our performance team. We have Joe Reck as director of performance. Dan Riggs, you've met. He is a team lead on my performance team. And then we have Thad Dodd, who's one of my senior performance managers, and he is a VBC concentrate. So, all right. You probably are learning that you're learning some things today that you might have questions on. This is very interactive. If you have a question, please yell. We're happy to answer any questions and all questions that you have. All right, so I'm excited to introduce our next person. I'll give you some fun facts about him really fast. If you are ever at a trade show or at a conference like this and you see that he's the last person sitting at the bar, if you sit next to him, you are going to be there with him for a very long time. You may know him as the CEO of LotPop, and he's an industry leader for industry operations and consulting. He's also a Kansas City guy, which means he is a Chiefs fan, like the rest of us. We're really lucky to be able to spend time with him on the circuit and in his office here in Kansas City. I've learned a lot from his team. LotPop was one of the very first integrations that we had inside of VinCue. So those of you that are LotPop clients, you can see LotPop inside VinCue. It's super cool. He has a great team, a great staff of performance managers that answered tons of questions for me over the years. So today Jason's going to moderate our panel on all things performance management, everything from acquisition and sourcing to recon and merchandising and retail marketing, featuring our performance management team. And just so you know that Jason not only is our friend, but we look at him as the prophet of inventory management, the guru of merchandising, the savant of vehicle sales. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jason Rice.
I don't know if I can live up to all that, but hopefully we can. And I apologize. I think I might have the same jacket on as that picture, but I don't deviate much. So I do want to give you a little bit of background on myself just to validate kind of the things that I'm going to be mentioning about what I like about VinCue. I did start in 1997 at a Ford store selling cars off the curb or off the lot, but I liked working the phone, so they had me start this internet thing. By 98, I was selling cars off the internet. Did that for dealer groups for 8 years. I was actually on the board of directors to get Digital Dealer off the ground. All that ended up getting me led to be introduced to Dale Pollack in 2005. Back then it wasn't VAuto, it was Empower Auto. He would sell it, I would travel. I was his first person he hired outside of his core people. And now, as you know, 8 years with VAuto, I literally stepped in thousands of dealerships all over the country helping with used car operations with my knowledge of internet management. I left the company 10 years ago on good terms. I was the director of the Eastern region, but I just needed to be home for my wife and kids and family. I was being on the road. I needed to be home. So I started LotPop. And again, what we do there is we take the data out of the inventory management tool. But here's what I'll tell you. We work with VAuto, VinCue, Max Digital, Dealers Link, First Look, which is Max Digital. So I don't care the inventory management tool. We also integrate CRM data into one tool to give you the view of your lot. And what I like about VinCue, again, isolating cars, but it's innovation. These guys, the combination of Danny and Chris is dangerous. I like the fact that Danny owns a dealership here, so they get to test everything. Find that with any other vendor out there, that's impossible. But also, as companies get bigger, as they become corporations, that innovation tends to come from the top down, right? The people in the back office, the guys in the computer, they're building stuff out. And what I like about small companies and what VinCue can do, the innovation comes from the bottom up. And not that dealers are at the bottom of everything, but they hear it from you, which then goes to the performance manager, which then goes to Chris, and they disperse, as you heard this morning. So again, I really appreciate everything they do. And again, the fact that they're a small company and doing that innovation from you guys as the dealer is really important. And that's all the stuff they're bringing into the product. So with that, we'll bring in the performance management. I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves on down the line. Go on, start with you.
Thad Dodd, performance manager.
Dan Riggs,
performance manager and team lead.
Joe Reck, Director of Performance.
Chris Arnold. I love the auto business and VinCue. I'm a team lead of our senior performance management team.
Awesome. So with that, we're going to take their experience into both, dealing with dealerships every day, talking to them, helping them through inventory management. The first thing that we need to talk about, as they always say, gross is made in the buy or acquisition. So let's start talking about buying plans and acquisition. When's buying and selling is never a problem. So first question, and this is a conversation between them and you guys. So please draw this out. In hopes I don't have to go through all these questions, only because we continue the conversation. All right, I'm going to let them pick and choose who they're going to answer this first. But here's the first question: I'm a used car manager at a store selling 200 plus used a month, and I have a limited time. What should my daily routine in VinCue look like?
I want that one.
Yep.
All right. So, yesterday, actually, Glenn Lundy said something about the three little pigs. We were talking about a foundation. And it all boils down to what I consider the buy plan, right? Finding the right cars to buy is the most important thing. That's number one. Am I going out looking for the right car? The second part obviously would be, where am I gonna get that car? And then that goes to the right place, right? So obviously we go through private party would be ideally the best place to go, and then move that side up of it. And then I always look at it as price would be the next piece of it as most important, and then time. But one thing we did talk about on building that foundation with the buy plan, and I'm just going to call out some people that I think do a fantastic job with it. Yeah. Becky, from Express Credit, came on in August, around that time. The first thing they did is they built an amazing buy plan. And what that does, we all have limited time, I get it. We're very busy. And to sit there and just wing it when trying to buy inventory, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to have issues. So that buy plan essentially is the start of it. But like anything else, when you build that foundation, my wife, she continues to add on to our house on ridiculous things. Because as you're, ridiculous things. As your business changes and the market changes, we need to make additions to that buy plan. Your foundation of the typical cars that you want to buy, great, but it's something you have to look at every single week, and that it would be a main focus for sure.
Perfect. Anybody want to add to that on the team?
Well, with buy plan, you're exactly right. It's got to change as your dealership changes, as your needs change. There is two schools of thought on it. Everybody wants to buy every vehicle, right? But not every vehicle can be in your buy plan as a target. If everything is special, nothing is special. So be intentional with how you create that buy plan and doing it as often as you want.
And then just real quick, I'm sorry. The other piece of it is depending on which market you're in, especially if you're using the VBC, you'll have 1,000, 1,500 opportunities out there between Auto Trader, Craigslist, Facebook. To be efficient, you have to have those core vehicles. And the beautiful part about our system is it's going to sort all those out for you. So you'll be able to work out of one bucket, find the cars you're looking for, attack those first, and get those bought, and then move on to the secondary vehicles that would also work for your front lot.
If we talk about, those guys talked about, acquiring vehicles. If you're a used car manager or any other manager managing inventory, and you have to manage that for pre-existing vehicles in your inventory already, the VinCue checklist is the place that I would go on a daily basis, right? What cars don't have prices? What cars need descriptions? We try to make that easy for you. No one likes the term. If you're a car guy, car girl, you really don't like the term description or a checklist. No, I never liked it when 25 years I was on that side. But the checklist is a place I would go to help manage my daily my daily routine.
All right, so that was going to be the next question. What reports do you have in VinCue that can help me determine an acquisition plan? Is that part of the checklist, or what other?
No, we have several reports, and Thad and Dan and everybody on the acquisition team can really speak to that. But when you're building a buy plan, I think it comes in two ways, and you guys can pipe in. One is, what have I historically done well with, right? And you can see that in your My Sales tab in the sales log. We can build all kinds of reports, and we have all the information in VinCue. The second part of that is what's moving well in the market that you may or may not be stocking, right? And that's where I would really lean on your performance manager to look at our star rating, which gives you 6 months worth of sales data and how long those vehicles are sitting on the lot to determine, hey, I have an area of opportunity to go pick this car up, and that car might sell well in my market or in my dealership.
And leads by CRM too. I mean,
Leads
it's
by CRM.
I love that report. It's basically telling you, your customers are telling you what cars to go buy because they're looking for them and they can't find them anywhere else. So easy, right?
Perfect. Now, also, there's a lot of dealerships that will say, well, I don't need a buying plan because I trade for all my vehicles. But I believe you do need a buying plan so you know which trades to be stepping up on and making sure you're chasing. So with that, the question is, I make way more money on customers' trades and street purchases. How can that be a bad thing?
Oh, I love this. So I always have a rule. There's no deals in the appraisal lane, right? I would challenge all of you guys and ladies to go back to your dealership, look at your appraisals, and look where you were at to the market on those cars that came in, and then look at what you're paying offsite for those cars. More often than not, through a PM call, they'll be talking about, I could definitely get that thing cheaper in the appraisal lane. I'd pay 11 grand for that thing offsite. All right, awesome. Well, after you paid 11 grand, you got $700 in fees. Then you got Deal Shield and a PSI, and you're just throwing money at that thing before it gets to your dealership. So if that exact same car runs through your appraisal lane, why are you offering 95, 10.5 for it? You might get it bought, right? Your buy rate may not be where it should be, and you're going to make a ton of money on that car when it goes to your front lot. Awesome, right? But what you're not looking at is how many cars did you miss, because you're trying to find that deal and steal that car that comes into the appraisal lane. We definitely kind of look at it as obviously that's the best car to buy. It's there, you can inspect it, you got a full shop, man. If you have questions, throw it on lift, look underneath of it. It's going to help your recon. You can make a better decision on that car, and then be able to pay for it. Just be consistent with your offers at what you would pay offsite for, that what you would do through the appraisal lane, because you are missing cars. I guarantee it.
Panel, do anybody want to add? Because if not, we're going to be moving on to market pricing and appraisals, but I also like to hit out to the crowd. This is your chance to ask any question. Yes, sir.
If I'm appraising the car, other than the metrics that I'm looking at, the days in inventory and the price changes and all that, you mentioned the stars that say a car's moving. So this is a car I'm not usually transacting with. How do I know that car's hot in my market? Like, other than just looking at the days that it's taken to turn the other dealers, is there any other metrics in there that I should be looking at?
So real quick, just to repeat his question, when he's appraising a car, when he doesn't have a lot of historical data, what data should he be looking at to know if the car is a good mover or hot for his? Is it anything he's missing other than when it's sold?
For me, it's pretty simple. When you click the sales slider open, how many of those are sold in your market, right? If you click the sales slider open and you see over the last 90 days that three of those cars were sold, it's not a car that's moving really well, right? And especially if you have a big set to begin with. If you have a shorter set, yeah, maybe that's a good vehicle to have. But I look at how many have sold, because that's the first thing, right? Are they selling in the market? Where did they sell at? I was on a call with a Toyota store, and we were looking. A question I always ask is, hey, show me a car that you're having a hard time selling. And so we went and looked at an old age Volkswagen Taos. It was a Toyota store. When we looked at the sales slider, there were plenty in the market, but only 3 had sold over the last 90 days, like in a 200-mile pricing radius, and they all sold at Volkswagen dealerships. If I paid attention to that data before I bought that car, or while I was trading that car, I definitely would have made a different decision, or I would have put it in what I call a wholesale category. On day one, it would have been listed on, I hate saying the evil empire, but it would have been listed on Manheim Express, OVE, or any of the other places, but I would have also had that car listed retail because I could already tell that dealerships like mine weren't selling that car. Does that make sense? And they weren't selling in the market because I could see that there weren't any market sales on the vehicle.
With that being added, I would tell you too, if it's a high volume vehicle, think about it, these rental rockets, Malibus, whatever, Altimas, they tend to have high day supply, high volume out there, but you also got to consider who's owning those cars. And a lot of times it's a subprime buy here, pay here type lot that will price it high for the cover the discount and let it sit. So is it really a bad car? You go back to Dan's and mentioning a 101. If you market that car and price that car effectively, it can be a good mover too. So just understand the market. And let's go into market pricing unless you wanted to add to what he had to say. All right, so market pricing and appraisal. Question: given the amount of data we have as a car dealer today with all the tools available, how much, if any, independent thought or gut feeling should dealers use when considering appraising a vehicle and how they fit in our inventory mix? I think we kind of answered that, but we can add to it if anybody would like.
I like to talk a lot. I'm sorry. So Dan mentioned baseball cards, and I was thinking the other day, I was like, man, how do we best answer this question? So has anybody seen the movie Moneyball? Right? So Dan played college baseball, right? And I played college baseball. And if the metrics showed, if Barry Bonds is on our team, and the metrics showed that Dan had a better batting average off of a certain pitcher, would you put Dan at the plate or myself off the plate or Barry Bonds? Barry Bonds, right? So obviously we're going to look at data a lot. But if I have Barry Bonds, there will be times when you're going to go, I think I got Barry Bonds. I'm going to put Barry Bonds at the plate, right? And 99 times out of 100, that's probably going to work out for you. So we're still car guys and car girls for a reason, right? We still have intuition. We have thought. We know that our core product, we know the product. We know what the data says. But I also know that 2018 King Ranch, I don't care. I'm never going to be able to get that car for 90% cost to market, right? I'm probably going to have to pay 100% cost to market. But I also know that I can sell that car for 110% cost to market. So I think obviously we want to rely on the data, which is the data we have in VINCUE is the best. In case anyone says different, it's the best. But there will be some times where you'll have to pivot from that and go, man, I got Barry Bonds and I know it. I hope that makes sense.
There has to be some thought process involved. We can put all the data in front of you, and you can utilize every piece of data that we have out there, but there has to be some sort of thought process in why you're doing something. It has to be an internal gut feeling. Sometimes we just have gut feelings. When it comes to my DraftKings account, I'm terrible at gut feelings. But there are so many things that we can do based on what we know and the knowledge we have. I would venture to say thousands of years of experience in this room right now. And we know what works, and we allow that data to help us push us in the right direction. But sometimes if we don't want to go completely in that direction, our gut will tell us to pivot a little bit. I would encourage you to talk about pivot a little bit after a little while, but we want to make sure that we're putting a little bit of our own thought gut process into acquiring those vehicles.
Yeah, I would say the gut, but I'd also take your personal feelings out of it. I know I'm a huge car fanatic. Sometimes I see a pretty shiny car and I'm like, wow, I got to have it. And in reality, it's not going to work on the lot.
I have a question.
There we go.
So, where I'm struggling, or where we struggle at our stores, we have 3 stores, 2 new car and a used car store. Our 2 new car stores are filling up the used car store, right, with our trades. We use all the data. I love the data. Your competitor Viato, I was a Viato guy forever. I love VINCUE. I do 6 or 7 months now. So we put all of that collective information together, and we're going to appraise a trade. And my motto is a trade's worth what it's worth. If we put emotion into it, we're going to get in trouble, right? Unless it's that one-off car. Let's pretend like they're not there. Now the data is there, and we see that the data, we use a 22 Taos. Let's just use that. The average retailer, what they're selling it for is, let's say, $25,900, $26,900. You're going to determine what your shop, recon, what you want to make. You're going to determine what you're going to ACV the car at, right? And now if I'm going to make a new car dealership, I'm going to have to push maybe $1,000. Let's go. All right, it's my product. I'm going to certify it. I'm good. Boom. Make this car deal and off we go. Used car manager comes in the next day, throws it to CarMax. They give you $2,500 more. I know they're here, right? CarMax is here somewhere, but what I'm running into that more and more where my dollar amount, after looking at all the data within VINCUE and everywhere else, is telling me X. And I go ahead and put that in the car, and I make my car deal, thank God, right? And then they tell me $2,500 higher. I'm probably going to launch the car to them because, well, they're $2,500. And that's a pretty consistent thing that's happening right now. Where are they selling? I mean, I guess that's a different question, but what do we do with that? Because the car is worth what it's worth, right? Yet, after using all the data and the thousands of years of experience of appraising cars and whatever the case may be, obviously you throw this little program and bink, now the car is going to go off to CarMax and we're not going to sell it at our used car store. Now I'm not going to get a trade. I'm not going to get any finance money. I'm not going to get all the things that we all dream about because it's going to go up to CM.
Did you just answer your question though?
Well, right, but if the $2,500 is the number that the average
I know,
retail
but
price is,
you're not getting F&I, you're not getting all those other things, but I'll let these guys answer that question too.
what's the decision there?
I wouldn't feed the beast, but that's not me. I'll go ahead.
For me, it's simple. Like, it has to come down from the top. Like, I'm of the mindset, well, before COVID, and it changed a little bit, but now it's back, that I would never, 99.99% chance never wholesale a retail car. Especially if I'm part of a group where even if you struggle with that car and you have, hey, you got to move it at 60 days. Okay, I'm going to move it over to Mark's store so Mark's store can make money off of the car, right? To me, that's a bad decision, because not only do you miss all the stuff you can quantify, dock fees, and you miss recon, and you miss all the fixed ops opportunity, but you also miss a customer who could bring you more customers, right? And that's going to be hard to quantify that. So
I'm not asking what I should do with it. I'm asking what becomes the value of the car now. I could say, yeah, no more CarMax, because I want to feed the used car. I want to do all. That's why I want to sell the car to a retail customer.
Sure.
100% of the time. It's hard, especially when you have a new car number to hit, and I'm getting $2,500. I could use $2,000, $1,500. We all know it's there. That's a big dollar amount. And how many car deals am I going to miss on the new car side if I'm not playing in that arena? So
Let's talk about perceived value.
Well, could you put that number? Could you put that car in prior to your appraisal to know what they're, and that gives you your spread for the pencil?
I for sure. Yet at that point, though, if it's $2,500 more, and now I'm outside of the retail market in my market,
yeah.
right? I mean, that's a real question.
Sir,
and I don't know how to answer it.
Completely understand. Oh, sorry. I was looking at Mike Hopkins over there. I'm like, why? Mike Hopkins, this is your question.
Yeah.
It is a hard decision, right? Do I pick up $2,500 on the deal that I'm working right now? Or do I would think more long-term, right? You know, we think of sometimes sales managers, right? We think about our pay plans, which I did too, right? If I'm an owner and I think marathon, hopefully, and long-term, what's better for my business long-term, right? What does bringing that car in on trade, and maybe I up my ACV a little bit to bring the best of both worlds, right? Especially if it's a core product, but I think long-term, right? I think marathon, what's best for the dealership overall, and I would tell you that $2,500 is going to come back to you more times than not, right? Even though it might hurt you to do it at the time.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I just was going to ask a clarifying question. Is it specifically CarMax that you're hitting that, or are you seeing competitors where you're seeing that?
Well, predominantly CarMax. There's a couple of others that our used car manager throws them into to,
Car
I
offers.
guess, check his own data. I don't know. I personally wouldn't. Yeah, it's not my gig right now.
Hey, don't feed your competitors, starve them.
Yeah. But their value could be because they're going to ship it to Florida, or I don't know your market, but here, and it's worth $2,000 more in Florida. So yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, but if you made the deal, don't matter. But if you're missing the deal, then it
My
matters.
question to you would be is when you're thinking about this, is that $2,500 you're talking about, is that car being sold in your market? Is it changing the average market price?
Well, so I don't, like, let's say I'm the one that appraised the trade on the desk.
Sure.
I don't use CarMax.
I'm just saying though.
But what I'm saying is that same $2,500, whether it's in the market or not, it's $2,500. I've left $2,500 in as a profit margin, and now I can launch it, or he can launch it. I'm not saying that's what we want to do. How do we overcome that when they're buying the car, ACV, for what it's retailing for in the data that I'm seeing? What?
I'll yell at him on our next call
That's a
for
high
you.
percentage of cars.
And if
Yeah, I know you're a used car director. I'll yell at him on our next call for you.
That's a real important number if you're missing trades. Going back to Hugh said yesterday, what their appraisal is at 35%, and if I'm looking at that and we're missing 2,500 to CarMax, then maybe that's why. But if you're still making your deals and everything, and you made the deal, then that 2,500 is just money in your pocket. Hopefully.
Well, and Jason, you hit upon it. They have a nationwide market. You know, they may be able to ship that unit out of the market and sell it for more. In some cases, you may find another group that offers in-house financing, or it's a buy-your-pay-her situation,
Absolutely.
where the retail number isn't the factor. So there's some of those you're gonna lose, and you still made the right decision and the right call.
Sure.
I mean, 100%. But I feel your frustration. I mean,
I think it's more so not the appraisal I'm asking about, it's keeping the car.
Sure.
So can I say something about that?
Absolutely.
Of course.
So I've been told, I don't know what the number is today, but the lifetime value of customers on a retail car is somewhere around 10 G's or more. So if you sell that car certified, I was a VW dealer, the likelihood that that customer is going to return to your store to buy a new car is like 50% higher than if you didn't certify that car. So if you're looking at that $2,500, is that $2,500 going to be there in 30 or 45 days? Take your retail swing. Hopefully it works out, but if it doesn't, you've got a pretty nice exit strategy if you didn't retail the car.
Yeah. I guess where the data is on that. Where are they selling?
Yeah.
What are they doing? I know we all have that same question. We know the answers are going over here, they're doing this, they're doing that. They still have to pay a truck and the fuel to get it there. Come on.
All
And if they're
those things.
2,500 up, that means they're another
Well,
$1,000
it's
up.
3,500 up.
and they may be losing money. You
Well,
know that.
yeah.
And they do that just to get market
But I
share.
think that's the bigger question is the dollar amount, especially in the current storm that we're in today. That $2,500 is a big deal. It
Especially
just
if you're
is.
missing deals.
Correct.
And that's where getting all the appraisals and everything in, in the tool and tracking. What's some of the reports then for that? How, if he is missing trades, where do they go? And what do they got to make sure that all that stuff's getting tracked accurately?
Look to book. Appraisal summary is where I would go. And, most people go there, like there's not a car dealer in here that has ever missed an appraisal, right? We've never missed a trade, right? Liars. So look to book, appraisal summary, and not just to look at, hey man, you appraise this car at 90% cost of market or 80% cost of market, right? It's really digging in. And the correct way, in my opinion, to do that is a daily save a deal meeting. And to go over every trade, because they are so precious for our inventory. Why did we miss this trade, right? Make sure you have good notes. It starts with appraisal classification, right? You cannot have an effective, really save a deal meeting, look to book report if you don't classify your appraisals correctly. On the desktop in VINCUE, it's easy to do that, and coming to mobile soon, it's going to ask you to choose, is this a customer trade? Is this a street purchase? Where did you get this vehicle? The appraisal attribution is really important to that report, but once you have that dialed in, then we're going to go take a look at, we're going to take out all the noise. We know that certain customers can't finance vehicles. We know that a lot of people are going to be way too upside down. They're way too buried to get out of their trade. But if I ask every one of you in here, if you look at 100 actual customer trades that you have ability to take in, how many should you win? I would tell you it should be north of 60%. I would tell you north of 60 at least, right? Whatever that goal is for you. If you're heavy subprime, that might be a little bit lower for you, but I would tell you north of 60%. And you set your baseline goal and you work with a performance manager. Are we hitting that goal? If you're not hitting that goal, why is that, right? To Thad's point, I found many vehicles. I go buy a car at the block for 100% cost of market. Say that number's 20 grand. Look at that same car for 18 grand on my lot. Why is that? Why do we do that? We have to change our mindset to go to, if Thad's my customer, I have to envision myself in a lane with all of you raising your hand to get that car. Because that's essentially what I'm doing, right? And if I'm not willing to do that, what do I miss? I miss a customer that's going to be $10,000 with a lifetime for my dealership. I miss a dock fee. I miss F&I. The biggest thing I miss is time. That vehicle's already on my lot. It can be merchandised and ready for sale same day. So for me, it's appraisal summary, right? And then follow that up with a poached report because I want you to see your pain. I want you to see that you put 18 grand in a car that you would buy at the block for 20 and it's sitting at your competitor's lot. So we have all of that in VinCue. I don't want you to see your pain. I just want you to understand it, right? Because that's exactly what happens when we don't follow that kind of mindset. It ends up at our competitor's lot when those are the things we do. But if you have a daily process where you're having a save a deal meeting, I promise you're going to pick up trades and you're going to pick up deals.
So really, he said the poach report. Those are the ones that are getting on somebody else's lot. And again, if you're missing deals, that's be the best place to go. What were you going to add to that?
Well, I was just going to, like I mentioned before, starve your competition. If you're buying those vehicles and you're getting to that 60+%, you're going to have the inventory that the consumers in your market are looking for, and the other guy down the street's not going to have it. So your return on investment, like what Mark was saying, over the span of time, if you certify a vehicle, what does your service department make on that? I mean, all those things starve the other guy. In our reports, the Poach report will show you who's getting the most from what you're losing.
All right, so we're going to move on to inventory management. We'll also add to the look to book number. That's going to fluctuate as you're either trying to, you might go up as you're trying to hit your new car number. So you're going to step up in a bunch of trades, and it might go down if you guys are losing gross and aging. But I would say to keep it as consistent as possible, because even if I'm losing gross and aging, I'd rather take that trade in and either wholesale it or take the aged car wholesale it and offset it with that nice fresh trade. So make sure you're managing that. And again, it's going to fluctuate based on your goals. But inventory management, now that we acquired cars and we're pricing and appraising properly, a good question for that is, what metrics do I look at to make price changes?
Well, you look at the market, you look and see what's currently going on out there. But there was a philosophy, Danny and I were talking about this just the other day, but think about how often you want to price that vehicle. A show of hands, everybody looks at their vehicles to reprice them once a day. Nobody once a day, once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. How often are we doing it? We want to look at those as often as possible when the market fluctuates, when your needs fluctuate. Make sure that you're pricing the vehicle accordingly. And it doesn't have to always be down. We don't have to reprice vehicles down. It's not always a race to the bottom. Danny talks about all the time. You don't have to race to the bottom. We're racing to the customer. And even if the market shifts up just a little bit and you raise the price of that vehicle $100, $200, what's the harm in that? I've always thought that if you're increasing the price of something that someone on the internet is following and they see the price go up, what do? There's a sense of urgency. Man, I don't want that thing to go up any higher. I better go out and get it right now. Did you like that? I did. I want to take some action on that, and they might come out here. Now you can still drop the price. You can, negotiate when they get there. But to get back to the original thing, price your vehicles accordingly based on what you're confident that people will come in to give you a chance to negotiate that deal.
VDP views, leads. Number one, look at those. Are they low? Are they high? Have they changed since the last price changed? Start reviewing those, looking at your photos, your descriptions.
For me, it's simple. All the PMs will roll their eyes because I say it all the time. I have an MBA behind my name, and it means managed by activity. Right? Caitlin's heard that a million times over the last month. Once you set your initial strategy, and I believe that you should price your vehicles appropriately from day one, right? Based on the risk of that vehicle, what the price pressure is or price sensitivity in the market. Once you do that, you should manage them consistently. I was under the impression I went if I changed the price 4 days from now, when it's had time to reflect in the online world and people have had time to look at it, did that make an impact on how many people were clicking on my vehicle? And VDPs don't sell cars, but they are indicative of whether or not you're going to get leads. If you have CRM integration in VinCue with one of the multiple CRMs we use, then you can also see your leads, right? Do I have fresh leads from the last time that I changed the price? If that answer is no, then you have a decision to make, because my friends, it's not working, right? If no one's clicking on your car, and you don't have any leads on your car, then your strategy is not working, right? The mistake we make is we too often times run to price when it could be a merchandising issue. If you're getting a lot of VDPs and you have no leads, 90% of the time, that's going to be a merchandising issue. You're going to go out and look at your photo and you got a TPMS light on, or you got damage, right? Because a lot of the people taking pictures get paid per car, and they really don't care if it looks like a pristine baseball card or not, right? They're just going to take the picture and move on. So I challenge you to, Jason, I think calls it a lot party, right?
Yeah.
To do it virtually. Man, every 2 weeks, give your salespeople 10 cars. Go out and look at these 10 cars. And if they find something wrong, reward them. Is the listing accurate? Is there any damage? Is there any dirt? Anything that would prevent a customer from moving forward and buying this car? Sorry. So
I'd like to add to that photo thing, because it was a VinCue client. He was wondering if he bought the wrong cars. His inventory wasn't moving. He wanted my insight, so we sat on a call, and I pulled up 3 trucks. Every freaking truck, dirty photos. And I told him, you're going to have to go through all these photos before I can judge your. I can't tell if it's the wrong image, because his GSM wanted to raise prices because of gross and stuff. I said, you guys should be lowering your price $1,000 or $2,000 based on these photos. You might have the perfect cars, but until you make sure those photos are right, and you're going through seasonal stuff where low tire warnings are going to be on, the trees are changing, you're going to have to do it, and you just go forward or back, or you don't know if you got the right cars or not.
Well, I would challenge you to do a virtual walk even more. It's so important to get your car out there on the web as fast as possible with the best description, the best photos. But if you have the time, check the web, check all those sites, make sure that those photos are right, your description's great, it's priced.
There's no snow on them.
yes,
It's my favorite. Well, it's not my favorite, but doing a lot of audits for pictures, obviously Midwest and forward. It was my previous job. It was June, and there was 30 pictures of a car with this much snow on it, right? And so I'm like, well, I don't think I need to lower the price. I think I just, like you said, I should probably take some better pictures. Another just a quick thing. Again, people get paid by picture or car, and they're moving through it. One of the biggest red flags I see is they'll turn the accessory light on and take a picture of the dash, and guess what you see? Every light in the world is on that car. So what we would see, when cars were struggling, maybe we are getting a lot of views, and then check the e-office, and it's all like, is there something wrong with the engine? What's going on with that? So I know we're kind of running over the horse a couple of times, but
put gas in the cars.
Yeah,
don't let them see the gas light.
Or even if you don't have to worry about trees because you take it on the side of the building and everything. But when you do a dash shot and it says it's 97 degrees outside, when's the last time it's been that? So it's even down to those type of details. Perfect. So real quick with that, then, how do we tell if the market is about to shift, and what can I do to prepare? If I wasn't in the mic.
Well, we have a couple things inside of our platform. One is you can see if you click on the sales tab, you can see an average price drop over a certain period of time. You can also see how many price changes your competitors are making. And then I encourage you to get outside of all the platforms and look at key economic conditions. What's going on, right? Did fuel just raise by $3, right? Well before I should have been a general manager, and I love to tell stories. I was a general manager of a Chrysler store, and I sat across from the owner and my Chrysler rep, who I love I've grown to love OEM reps. That's a little sarcasm, but he offered us 100 of our most popular truck, crew cab, Ram diesels, this 2008, right? And they were going to give us a check for $300,000 with it. And we sold literally 30 or 40 of those trucks a month. And the owner looked at me and said, "What do you think?" And I'm like, we're selling 30 of those trucks a month, right? And I had no foresight at that time. And we took those trucks. We took 100. We took the $300,000. 2 weeks later, diesel was like $5 a gallon, $5.50 a gallon, right? In 2008. And some of you probably remember that because you look same age as me. And then the owner blamed me, right? I'm like, it was your store. You made the decision. But you have to look at those economic factors as well as what you're going to see inside of the platform. What's going on in the world?
What was that report you mentioned initially?
A sales tab?
And then if price changes are being done on the market. Should I care about what my competitors are selling? If so, how much and what should I look for?
So absolutely, I want to know what my competitors are doing. I want to know how they're pricing. I want to know what they're doing with those particular vehicles. Maybe I should shift my focus a little bit on those. So inside of VinCue, you've got your competitors tab. You jump in, and as Mark showed in some of his presentation, you can hit the target and look and see what they're doing, what they currently have in stock. How are your vehicles priced against theirs? Are you above? Are you below? What's going on? How many they're selling? Absolutely, you should check that out as often as possible so that you know what your competition is doing. It's just that simple, really. Just look at it.
I want to add to that. Any questions on that? No? All right, here's a good question because I think this one. How can VinCue help me determine what my dealer optimal turn rate is or should be?
Look at, I would tell you that the goal should be I'm turning my inventory once a month, right? I turn is a number that's manipulatable, right? Average days of sale is a number, or average day in inventory is a number that's easy to manipulate. You go sell off all your oldest aged inventory today, your average day in inventory is going to go down, right? If you go buy a bunch of 1 day old cars, your average age of inventory is going to go down. For me, I like to look at average days to sell, right? And I think if the closer we get our average days to sell to 30, then the closer we get to turning our inventory over once a month. That's the way I've always looked at it. There may be differing opinions, I have a client who's 95% subprime, so he has different thought process. For me, it's average days to sale, which I believe that metric is coming easy to see. If not, your performance manager, and we can break that out for you. I like to use Excel pivot reports, as all my PMs know. They love it. But for me, it's average days to sale. The closer we get that to 30, the better we are, the more healthy we are as a dealership.
Anybody? I got a question too on this one, and this would have to do with, I guess, turn and or the pricing strategy. How do I know where my sweet spot is? They're just letting you take it over, aren't they?
I apologize. You got to look at your historical data, right? And you got to trend it. You can't just look at your last 30 days and go, oh, hey, my sweet spot's this car and this percent to market and things like that. It has to be a trend. So one of the cool things I like is we can take your sales data. As long as you've been with us, we can go back. We can break that out into what cars are you selling under 30 days, what cars are you selling under 60 days, what cars are really getting old on you every time. And we can develop trends, right? And the whole purpose of looking at that trends is one, to let's avoid pitfalls going forward, and then let's find the wins and try to replicate those wins as many times as possible, right? For your core product, you're going to know what's moving a lot most of the times, right? Those one or two cars that you're going to sell real quickly, you're going to make a lot of money. It's cars 3, 4, 5, and 6, right, that are really going to put you over the top. So make sure you're getting with your PM to look at that sales data and break that down for you.
I'd also like to add to that.
Please.
Joe. Oh, man. Bad.
Sales data? Your basic sales log is one that you could go to. We also have the enhanced sales log, which adds a couple different columns. And what I really love about VinCue is we worked with Chris, and the developers are going to add a couple more columns for you going forward. But that's where you would see that. Very easy to see, very easy to trend, and to get a summary of that.
Perfect. How can VinCue help me determine what my dealership this one. What strategies can VinCue help me to assist me in reducing my aged inventory and inventory cost?
We've covered that in a couple different things. Your photos, your descriptions, your merchandising. The quicker you get that up and going, the quicker you get that vehicle to market and get it in front of consumers, the race to the customer, you're going to have a much better chance at selling it quicker. Pricing it optimally when you first take it in. There's so many things that can help you in those particular arenas to make sure that you are getting to that point where they're just turning and turning and turning and turning. So I mean, some of the things that you can do inside of VinCue to look at those things have to talk with the merchandising stuff that we were talking about. Look at those photos. adjust things as you want to. Look at those things inside of there on a daily basis to make sure that you are getting the right information so that you can turn those things much quicker.
I think of days to market starts with the appraisal. Looking at the vehicle, doing the walk around, making sure we're not missing damage, and we're doing that proper walk around. So when it does hit the lot or goes back to recon or detail, that it's not spending extra time back in service.
Yeah, and because I'm an acquisition guy, I always say it starts with the buy plan, right? You want to limit your aged units, buy the right car, right? It sounds kind of silly, but if your buy plan and your strategy is a well-oiled machine and you have a process and things are running, you're going to limit the amount of mistakes you have. Mark, I think, talked a little bit about filling spots. We've all been there in a career where I'm in the Hertz lane or Avis lane, and nothing against the cars, I love them, whatever. But then I end up buying 15 purple Malibus with 70,000 miles on a 2022. I don't want that car. It doesn't work for at that time my dealership that I was working for. So if you want to limit aged units, increase your turn, it really starts from the beginning, in my opinion.
Not only appraisal, but when it hits the lot, don't overlook a 2 or 10-day-old car saying, it's 10 days, I got time. Think of what that car will look like day 60. That'll be January 15th. Okay, so now what? Do I want to own it then? Is the market going to be worse or better? All right, so start making the movements now. Don't blow off those fresh cars even after you acquire it. Open it up for questions. We're going to wrap it up here. Yes?
What's the data show on OEM certification programs, in our case specifically Ford? Do they turn quicker, the gross profit margins, etc.?
You guys want to answer that?
Well, so we might have to do a little manual work to that with the sales log, but one of the pivot reports that I've done for a dealer like yourself is to break down the sales log with a certified column. And then we can look at all your certified units, and I can tell you, Mr. King, your certified F-150s are leaving on day 30 on average with a $4,000 spread.
We're not currently doing it. Should we be doing it?
I think so. I do. And not necessarily on a grand scale, but I do think that you should at least dip your toe in the water a little bit to do those sorts of things. And utilizing the pivot report that Chris was talking about is really going to help us establish a range, establish what we want to do moving forward. So if we want to ramp things up a little bit, we can certainly do that.
We stopped during COVID because everything was selling. It's just added more
Expense.
Yeah, expense to the vehicle. So
I'll do a plug here. We do that with your VINCUE data. We'll track your stuff with the lot predictor, what model you're turning fast, which ones are making gross, but also all of our graphs. You can isolate either franchise, non-franchise, or certified, and see if those are slowing down on your lot to help you could control that. So anytime you want to combine these meetings with them, so we can expose that and then allow you to pivot down to the year, make, model, what certified you want to go after to do that stuff. I've seen a hand raise.
Yeah, another thing that I would do is I would look at your competitors and look at what they're currently stocking, see if they have a lot of certified, then look at their sales, see how they're selling those cars, see what the average days it is that they're moving those vehicles. That'll really give you a good idea if something like that's working in your market, which you can do right inside of VINCUE. So I would highly suggest that you look at your competitors and kind of dig into their information a little bit.
Yeah. If I could just add to that, look at an appraisal and then just filter on certified cars. Check the average days, check to see if the price to market goes up, like if the average retail price does. And if they're moving quicker and selling higher, then those would be indicators to say, I may want to consider doing certified. If they're aging, and if they're selling for almost the same as what a non-certified vehicle is, then you can obviously make decisions based on that. So, your high volume cars, Escapes, F-150s, I would start there. Escape SE, totally high volume car, F-150 XLT. Do those filters, maybe put it on a wide geo, so you got a big sample size, and you'd probably be pretty enlightened at what you see.
And I would see if the OEM's doing some with high interest rates, but they're doing a 2.9 on certified or something like that. You definitely want to jump in the game. All right. Look, did you want to add?
So you said something about managing cars fresh in inventory.
Yes.
And I kind of did a psychology experiment. I asked a few dealers, and I've done this with clients, tell me a car that you're struggling to sell. right? And some of it, and you're probably thinking of a car that you have on your lot right now. You're like, man, why isn't this car selling? Now, raise your hand if that car is over 60 days old in your inventory, right? Or if that's you don't have to raise your hands, but most of you are probably thinking about an aged unit. Would I be correct? You should be looking at your day 15 units, day 10 units, because I could go into most of your inventories and pick out a few vehicles that are 10 days old that you've had fully merchandised for 5 or 6 days or 15 days old, and that car is getting no activity, and you already have the warning signs that that car is going to age on you. So that's where I would tell you, you have to start there. Day 90's already too late, right? You're already losing money on that car. You start day 10, day 15, that car never makes it to day 90.
There we go. Unless there's any other questions, we'll wrap this up. I'd like to give everybody up here on the panel a round of applause.
Okay. Can I borrow your microphone? Can I ask you guys to take your chairs back a little bit? Yes. All right. Can I? Oh, come back. You guys stand here for me. All right, come here. Close. Move the microphones. You want to know what we said? So tomorrow is Jason Rice's 50th birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Jason. Happy birthday to you. Woo, woo.
Yeah.
Where's the party? Where's the party? Where's the party? Where's the party? Okay. All right. Thank you guys again.